Hi, welcome back to the C Morning Show. We're gonna have our first talk show about 60 youth representatives from ASEAN member countries and Timor-Leste gather in Jakarta for the ASEAN Youth Dialogue, or AYD, or Digital Development for the Sustainable Development Goals 2023, which lasted from the 11th of April to the 13th.
The three-day event was held to discuss and formulate youth recommendations for ASEAN leaders and equitable and inclusive digital development in Southeast Asia.
Now to delve more into the topic, we have with us here in the studio
Indonesian youth representative.
Indonesian youth representative for the 42nd ASEAN Summit, Zafran Ahmaderi Arif. Good morning, Zafran. Zafran, is it? We call it
Zafran.
Zafran.
Yes.
Zafran.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for dropping by.
Thank you so much.
How was it? How's Labuan Bajo?
Oh, it was amazing. It was incredible.
For the summit and also for the scenario, I suppose, right?
Now, let's talk on the first one. Delegates of the ASEAN Youth of Dialogue who assembled in Jakarta in April, which is last month before
yes.
you guys went to Labuan Bajo. You come up with some policy recommendation that include that thematic areas in field of youth entrepreneurship, digital literacy, includes digital transformation and green economy. Could you please elaborate on that one?
Yeah, so there are 4 themes that we're recommending. The first one is about youth entrepreneurship, where we recommend to create such environment to support the youth entrepreneur. The second is about digital literacy and what youth can do about it. So we were thinking that digital literacy is very important, especially in this era, right? Like Industrial Revolution 4.0 and etc. And it is very important, so we want to emphasize the importance of that. The third one is about the digital transformation and about the inclusivity, because not a lot of people in ASEAN regions, especially in the rural areas, knows how to use the technology itself.
Right.
Like they don't even know how to use cell phones. They don't even know how to use the internet, etc. So we want to be inclusive to those kind of people. And the last one is about the embracing opportunities and anticipating challenges of green economy in Southeast Asia. So with all of the economic growth and everything, we want it to be sustainable, we want it to be green, we want to support the environment. So we cannot think like the first industrial revolution where we have coals and everything. We want it to be green and we want it to be sustainable until the future, so that our kids can also use the benefit of it.
Right. Out of the 4 pillars and also the key points that you were mentioning before, it seems the core of the factors is on digital ecosystem. Now we're going to talk about digital development.
Exactly.
We know, especially in the ASEAN region, there are, like you said before, there are some areas that's not being developed yet, especially in this sector. So what do you think are the obstacles or the challenges that affect ASEAN with the digital development?
The obstacles is definitely the infrastructure.
Okay.
So we don't have those kind of infrastructure yet in ASEAN, especially in Indonesia, in the rural areas. I don't know if they have started planting the towers, the internet towers, and those kind of things. And also electricity, because I have a lot of friends from the eastern part of Indonesia, especially in Papua. They don't have this electricity. Like some of the areas don't even have electricity. So how can they?
It's so basic like that, right?
Exactly. How can they participate in digital transformation if they don't have access to those kind of stuff? So I believe the infrastructure is the first and the major things that has to be implemented first.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting that you mentioned earlier that, how the digitalization, digital is one of the key points that you guys recommended during the ASEAN Summit. Now, my other question is, there's 60 of you that were there at Bajo, but at the same time, I bet you guys have a lot of members, a lot of youth. Like, what part of the ASEAN youth are you guys doing to help to make sure all these people, because it's not only about the infrastructure, but as you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people who are unable to adapt to using the cell phones, and for us maybe a simple thing, but like for them it's become a bigger thing, because at the same time, I understand to grow, ASEAN as a whole, we're gonna grow in digitalization. So what parts are the ASEAN youth taking to make sure like everybody understand or learning on how to use the
Okay.
digital device?
First of all, let me correct you if I may.
Sorry.
Those 60 youths were in April.
Okay.
It was for the AYD program, the ASEAN Youth Dialogue program. There were 60 people over there. But for the summit itself, there is only like 21 people. So yeah, we've been selected into 21 from the 60-ish people. And as for the question itself, thank you for asking. So what can youth do? Is that what you're asking for this? Yeah. So by participating in this kind of programs and by participating in a lot of organizations, like there are a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of organizations that supports this kind of things. Support the environment, support the digital literacy, and help people in rural areas to also know about digital literacy itself. Like me, back in 2019, I went to one of the city in Central Java, Indonesia, and it was me and some of my colleagues for a community service program from campus. And I think this kind of KKN, or community service program, should be also implemented in the whole ASEAN regions or ASEAN countries, because it is very helpful for those people in the rural areas to know about the digital literacy, about the sustainable development goals, and etc. So it is the youth who educate them directly, because we cannot rely on the government, right? We cannot rely on those stakeholders. I mean, we wish that we can rely on them, we can rely on those stakeholders, but we cannot always rely to them. So it is always have to be us to support those people, to help those people, and to educate them.
So what's your take on this, Zafran, to accelerate the inclusivity of digital transformation? Let's not talk about the ASEAN region. Let's talk about Indonesia, because Indonesia is already
Of course,
enough,
yeah.
right? You're already saying there's a huge gap, especially from us in major cities or big cities like us and to the rural areas. You were mentioning, yes, right now the youth needs to do whatever we can, all the empowerment that we can do to help the youth, especially in these areas. But what kind of programs that you already intake, especially from your organization, to really walk the talk?
Okay, so my organization is called PPI Dunia, or Overseas Indonesian Student Associations Alliance in the world. So one of the programs is that we help the rural areas. I forgot what was the city of it, but we come there and we help the local people with, it was about the water treatment and everything. But yeah, we've done some stuff like that, and we also help people in other part of Indonesia about the digital literacy itself and the green economy.
How was the response, and did you guys follow up? Because usually when programs, you go to a certain city or a certain village, you implement in that program, and then that's it. Do you guys do follow up to know what
of course.
the updates and the growth of it?
Exactly. So we did follow up. So it is like a yearly program, annual program. So after this year or after last year, we follow up this year and follow up in the next year. So that it is a continuous program. It is not only like one-time program, because what's the point of one-time program, right?
Because you have to change the mindset, behavior, and also the culture of the particular area. You see growth, especially in these rural areas that you guys already been to?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Now, you guys made a recommendation on April during your April meeting, and you brought it up on May 10th during your meeting on budget. So you met 20 or something. If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned earlier, you guys met with the ASEAN leaders. So how does the ASEAN leaders receive that information, and what's their response on that?
Okay, so we were very happy because they responded very well.
Yeah.
And it was Mr. President Jokowi at first who gave us the response. And it was very well. And actually, I take some notes in here. And they talk mostly about the digital transformation itself and also about the inclusivity.
Yeah.
So yeah, they emphasized that, and they told us that this needs to be implemented. But back again, it is up to them to implement it or not. But for us, we can only just deliver it to them and hope that they implement it.
Well, you actually are become, you know, somewhat the soldiers on the ground. You become
Oh,
the
yeah.
eyes and to know what is going on. And then for all these leaders and also the governance trying to support what you see on the field itself. Now, in response to the Indonesian Youth Dialogue and the 42nd ASEAN Summit, what benefits the country's youth?
The country's youth.
Yes.
Okay, so when we created this recommendation policy, we thought about the future. We thought about us, we thought about our kids. That's the thing. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Why do we think about it? It is because the future is us. The future is me, the future is the kids. So we want those policies to be implemented so that it will be beneficial for them. If it is already implemented in the future, I believe there's no more social gap, or no, digital gap. People can use their cell phones freely. They can
Utilize it in a
good way.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. And also in ASEAN itself, we can travel through ASEAN and we can communicate, we can integrate with all of ASEAN countries easily.
Yes.
That is one of the benefits in the future if those recommendation policies are implemented.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of any type of policy that might push the government to make sure an equality in digital for the entire nation, at least for Indonesia? Like, is there such a policy that they can implement it and then it push and boost up all the digital transformation in the country?
Yeah, there's this one policy that I remember that I wrote that policy.
Okay.
So yeah, this policy talks about education system in Indonesia and in ASEAN in general. So we would like Indonesia and any other ASEAN countries to implement such education system that emphasize on digital literacy, on digital transformation. Like, what's the meaning of it? In United States of America, where I study, we already use this Canvas. We call it Canvas. It is a dashboard for us to,
It's an app. Yeah.
yeah, to contact with, to communicate with our professor, to see our homeworks, to see their lectures, and etc. And we can also use that Canvas to have a discussion. So it is like a dashboard to have a social networking thingy, but in education style.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, those kind of stuff need to be implemented in our education system, and also the usage of online tools such as Google Docs, Google Sheets,
Yes.
Google Slides, etc. Because when we only use our own laptop and we have the slides, the presentation slides, and we only do it by ourselves and then give the laptop to the next person. That's what I did when I was in my middle school or high school. To give it to the next person and they, add some stuff to the slides and give it to the other person. We don't need to do that anymore because we can do it like on Google Slides, and me, you, and you can do it simultaneously.
Correct.
Like not one at a time, but
Yeah.
we can do it like at one time.
Yes.
We do it together.
And being updated.
So yeah,
Thank you
that's
too,
one.
because of the pandemic, now we are understanding more of that, right? Because of
Exactly.
that, we already kind of accelerate on that. Now, Zafran, I also want to ask you, you're a representative from the Indonesian youth, and also you meet with other youths throughout the region. Do they have the same somewhat kind of a problem or a challenge? I'm not saying a problem, but challenges and obstacles that needs to put forward in their own country and region?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, of course, different states, different countries have their own problem, their own like unique problem, I would say. But then the topics that we brought in, digital transformation and green economy, we have these common problems in all of the countries. But yeah, there's the the digital gap also between the countries like Singapore. They're already advanced, right? If you compare it to Indonesia, some of Indonesian people don't know how to use technology. But Singapore, it is not their problem anymore.
Right.
But they have problem in green economy and stuff like that.
Right.
So we have some common problems and we have different problems, I'd say.
And you can put it all into one.
Yeah.
And hopefully find the solutions and also
Right.
move forward to that set. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so
Are
much.
you going to be on September also, the ASEAN?
Oh, the
Youth?
ASEAN Summit?
Yeah.
I don't think the ASEAN youth will be invited to the summit, but I've already talked to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so that, invite us lah.
Of course, definitely.
Well, hopefully
Yeah.
we see you again on September. Well, we're gonna go for a break, and after the break we will return with more updates from around the world. So stay here with us on the C Morning Show, only on C Today.
Thank you very much, Zafran.